Well, thank you very much for being here this afternoon, holding out toward the end of the event. It's always a great thing to see people holding out to the very end. We judge ourselves by how many people are here on the closing bell. So, of course, one of the strategies to make that happen is to keep some of the best for last. And we're very fortunate here to have a really excellent group of people with a very diverse backgrounds, able to talk on the subject of wholesaling, wholesale markets, and the future role of wholesaling in the fresh produce distribution system. I'm going to let each panelist introduce themselves. My name is Jim Prevor. I come from a long line of produce wholesalers. My family had for generations unknown a produce wholesaling operation outside of Kiev. And my great-grandfather emigrated to the United States, and Jacob Prevor opened a operation in what was then called the Wallabout Produce Market. It was the second largest produce market in the United States. It was in Brooklyn, New York. Good Dutch name, as is Wallabout, and it was eventually converted to Brooklyn Navy Yard. But before that, my grandfather, Harry Prevor, moved our family business from Brooklyn to Manhattan, to the Washington Street market, which was sort of down near where the World Trade Center site was. That was the largest produce market in the United States at the time. But after, maybe 100 years of planning, the city of New York decided to move the market. And in 1967, my family were original tenants at the opening of the Hunts Point Produce Market in the Bronx, New York. And Myra Gordon is the big boss of this market sitting here today. The Hunts Point Market is the largest produce market in America, certainly, and there's a big fight that goes on between Hunts Point and Rungis in Paris, because actually Hunts Point handles more produce, fruits and vegetables, than they do in the Paris market, but the Paris market is broader and has a lot of other foods than fruits and vegetables, so in total volume they are larger, but not in fruits and vegetables, which is what counts at this fair. So I grew up in that business, in that milieu. My family went on to do export, import. We had some supermarkets, we owned farms. We did different things at different times, but my heart is always on the wholesale market. And unfortunately, I disgraced my family when this young son fell to journalism, and we wound up opening a magazine called Produce Business and organizing fairs and things like that, including the New York, the London, and the Amsterdam Produce Show. We're going to try and talk about the way in which the world of wholesaling is evolving. And I couldn't think of three better people to help me do that today. So I'll let each introduce themselves, starting with Andreas next to me.
Okay. My name is Andreas Schindler. I'm from Don Limón company. I'm one of the third generation of a wholesaler business in Hamburg. My grandfather was a refugee from Eastern Europe, similar, I think, like your family. They started wholesaler business. And we have seen in the last, I would say, 60 years, the changes in the wholesaler business. Nowadays, we are also a combined company from production, import, export. Even we're working with the markets in North America. We created an office in Texas. We work worldwide, and we combine this wholesaler business, or let's say we came from the wholesaler business, we integrated to production, and also sales-wise we went to all of the markets of the world, Middle East, Far East. And nowadays we really combine production, wholesaling, exporting, and we see that this combination is giving advantage to all the steps in the value chain. And we're growing 20% every year since more than 15 years. I'm in the company since 2000, and it goes quite well. We are very optimistic for the wholesaler business, and I hope that I can answer some more questions which you'll ask me later.
Very good. And Myra.
Jim is absolutely right. The role of a terminal market in the United States is changing and evolving very, very quickly. We actually sit on land that is owned by the city of New York, and the merchants lease the property and pay a leasehold to the city of New York on a yearly basis. And when I first came into the business, there were 77 merchants. When Jim's father came March 21st of 1967, there were 122 merchants. We're now down to 33 merchants. Like the rest of the world, there are mergers and acquisitions. There is a large cash component in a terminal market operation, and where Jim wanted to go into journalism, we've got similar situations today because we are a night business where many of the younger people do not want to work nights and have gone into other professions. The present family owners may have sold out. But interestingly enough, we have companies now that have the fourth generation working. One company is actually into 7 generations of ownership, straight through. All of our businesses are family businesses. And yes, when it comes to the sale of fresh fruits and vegetables, we are definitely larger than Rungis. In American dollars, and I don't know how to do the translation for you, we do about $2.4 billion a year in the sale of only fresh fruits and vegetables that come to us by plane, by train, by boat, by trailer, by truck. And we are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it is still very much a night business.
There's a lot of things the same in Belgium like in New York. Hello, I'm Stijn Vermoere, a difficult Belgian name for foreign Dutch, English-speaking persons. I'm the marketing and communication director of Group Achiel de Witte. Achiel de Witte is the founder of our company. He started 40 years ago with just a little table with some bananas, with some Belgian apples and some Belgian strawberries on it. And 40 years later, we have a business of 315 million euros turnover and 620 employees. Our vision is that we have, we call it vertical integration. I don't know if it's the correct term in English, but we do everything in the fruit and vegetable sector. We are doing we don't do produce, but we do import, export, wholesale. Food service for hospitality and stuff. We do packaging, fresh cuts, and logistics, transport, ripening of fruits like ready-to-eat mangoes, ready-to-eat avocados. And we are currently based at the wholesale market and in Brussels. So that's our headquarters.
Okay. Well, very good. You know, I guess I'll start at home and start with you, Myra. Hunts Point is a very vibrant market, but Hunts Point is also very unusual. And all across America, cities that had wholesale markets don't have those markets anymore. Why do you think that is? Why is it that Hunts Point has remained so vibrant while all across America markets have closed?
Jim is absolutely correct.
Are you not hearing her?
There used to be 23 terminal market operations in the United States. There are now 11 left. We have survived. I think New York, as a very large, very vibrant city, has the exceptional opportunity of having a green grocer on every corner in the city of New York. The city of New York has many small communities inside its boundaries. I think that we are a melting pot. The ethnicities of the city have made eating fresh fruits and vegetables a mainstay. I like to say, when you leave your home country, the only thing that you can bring with you are your taste buds. And it's given a terminal market operator an opportunity to sell fruits and vegetables that years ago we probably never heard of, but we found a way to bring them in and to market them. I think it's also the fact that we have the ability to bring produce in from around the world in a very simple fashion. We bring product in from 35 foreign countries, and we have across the United States during growing season, we get product from 49 states in the United States. And because of the amount of produce that filters in and out of the market, again, with a small produce store on literally every single corner in every one of the boroughs, we have been able to stay as a stabilization point to keep these small people in business, because they would not otherwise have an opportunity for the product that they need, again, representative of the countries that they came from. So we are very vibrant and very viable, and I think the reason why, again, is because of the number of fruits and vegetable stores, and we also have 23,000 restaurants in the city of New York. We like to say that if there is a piece of fruit or a piece of vegetable on your plate, it has obviously come out of Hunts Point. So that has also helped to keep us as a mainstay in the city of New York.
You know what it's important to think of is what a wholesale market actually is and actually does, and what its purpose is in the marketing chain. And it's good to think about it as almost a hinge between two different development opportunities that create. For the grower of produce, although the trend is, of course, to sell direct to supermarkets and things of that sort, the role of a wholesaler is different from the role of a supermarket. A supermarket buys the produce that it wants to buy. It selects the variety, it selects the grade or quality level, it selects the size that it would like to sell. Whereas a terminal market, a wholesaler, works to help a grower sell the product that he has to sell. So whereas it is not a problem for a retailer to just say, well, we want this size honeydew melon, and that is it. You either have that size or you don't, but that's what we buy. It is the role of the wholesaler to listen to that grower and say, this year the crop's running small, I have to find a way to create demand for small melons. So the grower is critically dependent. Long before we knew words like food hubs and things of this sort, every wholesaler terminal market in the world was doing this for local growers, helping them find markets for the products that they have. The other hinge on the other side of the terminal market is the development opportunities that are created by creating what is basically a central depot similar to what a big retailer would have on its own, but available to the public, so available to all retailers and all restaurants in town. And that's very important, because in order for a place to not be purely homogeneous, in order for it to not just have the same chain store, same chain restaurant that you can find in every other town, you need this vibrant independent sector. But the independent sector cannot survive if it doesn't have facilities to get things it needs, including fruits and vegetables. So when a community supports a terminal market in its town, it's helping both sides of that hinge. It's helping the growers to find markets so that they can make a living, because if you throw out half your crop because the supermarket only wants the other half, you can't make a living. And at the same time, it helps create vibrant urban living spaces, because we can go downstairs and have unique, fun restaurants, shops, things of this sort. So this is really the very important role that a wholesale market plays. But one of the things I do in New York is I facilitate the largest share group in the United States on terminal markets. One of Myra's members, the DiRigo Brothers Produce Company of New York, is a member. And we also have top wholesalers from Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, LA, San Francisco. And one of the things that has happened is that although New York is such a vibrant city, such a big city, that people have been able to grow their traditional produce business. And when Myra was referring to shrinkage in the number of companies, that's principally because in the old days, people only sold one thing. So they were a tomato house, or a tropical fruit house, or an Eastern apple house, meaning apples from New York and Pennsylvania. And what gradually happened is there became more of a demand for a full line, to offer a full line of distribution. This way, people wouldn't have to visit 15 people to do their order. As it became more common for people to call in their order over phone, and later for them to send it via a digital means, whether a simple email or a complex procurement system, they didn't want to do this with 50 different people. They wanted to be able to do it with 1 or 2 people, and then they wanted them to arrange for transportation. The market has changed. Even the companies that are left, many of them didn't own 1 truck 20 years ago, and they'll have many today. But what this share group says is for those that are not in the top 3 or 4 cities in America, they want to grow their business, and they can't do it on the walk. They can't run their father's business just waiting for some people to walk by in the morning to buy their produce. And so I'm very interested, Andreas. What I understand that you did is you took a traditional wholesale terminal market operation and said, we can actually use this as a base for global distribution and global procurement and create a brand that would come to mean something. Could you talk a little more about how that transition worked and what you think the future holds for the wholesale end of it?
Yes, I would say when I joined the business in 2000, it was, like you said, was this wholesaler market, and my father opened the door in the morning, the customer came and they bought, and every day there were less restaurants in the city. The small corner groceries disappeared because the opening hours of the supermarket became longer, and so there was not so much business anymore. And I think there's something in every business. It's an ecosystem normally where you put things together, or different, let's say, different needs of different people. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you have a focus on supply side where you have to distribute product of your producer, and on the other side you have to organize fruits from your customer. And I think this is to be wholesaler is an interface, and have to supply a bunch of services, but also on one side. My father, or the older generation, was very much focused on the facts. We are bringing good fruits, good quality fruits. Then what we added in the time after is to bring a story, to a marketing, and then a personality. I think it's like the same like we in private life. We feel attracted to people which we find sympathetic, interesting, or it's something behind. It's not only somebody, and it's only giving us something what we need, or only the facts. What is important, I think, our wholesaler business is to combine the professional or the technical knowledge and approach to bring high quality fruits in the moment it's needed, and to have a troubleshooting in case of problems. But on the other side, to have also a personality which is perceived by even our customer. We don't do a marketing for consumer. We only do it really in the market. That's what we do also here, to show ourselves who we are, what we are doing. And especially that we do it with passion, and that we know how to do it, and we established a chain really from the fields to the markets, or to the import, and then to the wholesaler market. And our wholesaler business was like a laboratory where we could always try some products, because normally you cannot start. I want to trade limes now, and then we trade limes. No, you have to try it. You have to find out what is the market, which sizes goes to which market when you have problems. And as that what we did in the past, I think is we permanently learned about what is going on in the market, and we have a local small business, and then you try it, to scale it up to different markets. Very often we found out that it's not the same. So what I would say is what we made to have it as a base, to learn that we don't know. Yes, that's the only thing what we know, that we don't know what's happened tomorrow, and we have to find solution. But also to learn how it works and to bring it from smaller size to bigger size. And this is a permanent process, how we develop projects or products to bring it to our local business and then to scale it up on a nationwide and even international and globally. And that's what we did with our lines. And this is the main story we tell to our, let's say, customer, employees, that we produce these limes, we bring them to the US, we bring them to Europe. We have something interesting to tell them. And so I would always say it's a technical knowledge that you know how it works, and that you have a story also which is interesting, and which is not only interesting to somebody here come and buy. I think even now the most important thing what we had to do is to come and work with us, come and be our salesperson, come to be our truck driver. Just so we cannot grow a business because we don't find the employee. The market is there. We don't really feel that there's a limit of the market. The limit is the people to develop. And so I would say the most important change we did in our company in the evolution of the last 60 years is we gave a story which amazed ourselves, and to gave us it's like a center of gravitation. It is to attract people, to attract customer, and to attract producer. And this is, in the end, this is what a wholesaler or a trading company or a fruit company have to do, is have to find good customer to attract good supplier, or maybe have to start with a good employee who is amazed, who can get the DNA of the company, and to give a spirit. And this is I would say this is trading, it's energy. You have to create a center of energy to attract these right factors.
Okay.
Point.
Yes, Stijn, when Myra was describing Hunts Point, I saw you nodding your head and say there are a lot of similarities. What about Myra's story resonated with you, and did anything stand out as a little different?
No, it's certainly the same. Like Myra said, in the old days there were 50, 60, 70 different companies in the wholesale market. It's the same in Brussels. There were 60 or 70 wholesale companies. Now I guess there are less than 20.
Yes, isn't it because your company bought most of those?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I think we own 4 or 5 of them. Yeah. And we let them independent from each other. So it's not that we merge them. No, we let them independent from each other. But also the same, like in those days there were someone with tomatoes, and he had 10 different varieties of tomatoes. But now you have to have the whole area of products. Yeah, like Starfruit is one of the companies. Is really good in exotic fruits. Yeah, they go Central America, Southern America, Asia. Yeah, but 20 years ago they had mangoes, pineapples, some passion fruit. Now they have the whole bunch. They have everything. Yeah? And I saw Myra, I heard Myra saying it's difficult to find people. Yeah, it's a night job. Yeah? It starts at 12 o'clock at night and goes till 10, 11 in the morning. And it's really difficult to find people who are working on that hours. Yeah? Because 10 years ago you give them a little bit more wage and it was good, but now is the balance life work-life balance is it's much more important than 10 years ago. But I still see a growth in the wholesale market in Brussels. Like you say, there's some retailers who just order in Spain like 2 containers of oranges every week. Yeah, but there are some retailers who come back to the wholesale market. Yeah, and it's the passion of our founder, who's now 68 years old, is quality. And nowadays he's still taking some buyer of Carrefour or Deleuze in Belgium. He was taking them by hand and say, "These are oranges." Yeah. Cuts them open, taste. Okay, and I think we have to go back to that, and not only order and we see what quality is. No, we have to take people back to the passion of the fruit. Even with the youth, we have now a project to make clear at a 5-year-old that an orange is not growing on a machine in a central depot of Deleuze. No, it's from a tree in Spain, or in South Africa, or in Argentina. Yeah? So I think there's a market again for the wholesale market, and the numbers were out 2 weeks ago in Belgium. There's the first year that a specialty like a bakery, a butcher, but also a fruit and vegetable corner. Yeah, it's the first time that they increased again after, I guess, 20 years of decreasing. It's now the first year that they increased. So I think there's again a market for quality, for the wholesale market, for passion of fruit.
Okay. You know, Myra, in 1967, when the market opened, my father told me that there was a joke that the merchants used to tell one another, that it was the newest antiquated market in the world, because he said that from the time they started planning it to the day they were able to build it, with city bureaucracy and things like this, tractor trailers had gotten longer, so you could not actually back up 2 tractor trailers as was designed to, because there was not enough space. I know that the market has been almost continuously considering a new market and looking at alternatives for decades really now. Is that important? Is it a matter of better facilities really a key thing, or is that just a preference that it might be good to have? Do you think that to be a great market today, you need to have a more modern facility to handle food safety and other rules, or what's your feeling on that?
From all of the discussions that I have been privy to, at the moment, the way in which the Food Safety Modernization Act has been written, and around the world, we all have to comply. We are an open air market, so at the moment, we would be unable to comply. We are making every effort to have some of the regulations changed to fit a terminal market operation. However, with respect to Jim's commentary, we now have 1/3 of the produce in the market sitting on refrigerated trailers. To speak about breaking the cold chain, it goes from the trailer that brings it in to a storage trailer to a warehouse. So we are very space constrained. We definitely need larger space. When the market was built, racking was not a part of the construction. And with only 18-foot ceilings, we can only rack 2 high. For many of the products, racking 3 high is a viable alternative, which at the moment does not exist for us. And as Jim said, when we were constructed, the average trailer was 45 feet with the cab. The trailers today are 53 feet, and by the time you add a cab onto it, it could be 75 feet. And back to back, we don't have the ability for ingress and egress. So in order to keep up with the times, yes, we need an enclosed facility. We need larger warehouses. We need to be able to take our produce off of trailers and store them properly into refrigeration. So I think although there's been a lot of chatter and a lot hasn't been accomplished, today with the conversations that we're having with both the governor of the state of New York, who's very much in our corner, and with the mayor, who has given us a substantial amount of money to help to eradicate some of the problems as they presently exist. I do believe, Jim, and those of you listening, that in order for us to continue to move into the future, we are very much in need of a new structure that will meet all of the requirements in today's world of modernization and keeping your food fresh.
Thank you, Myra. I think I should ask this. In Belgium, in Brussels, you have done all this consolidation, and you've also mentioned a lot of new things that you have added on beyond the core wholesale business. Do these new things help the wholesale business in any way, or are they just totally separate businesses that could exist whether you had the wholesale business or not? Is it integrated?
Yeah, for our particular, we integrated everything. Yeah, we integrate the wholesale market, the food service, the import, export. So it's important. Everything is important for us, but everything is also very independent of each other. Yeah, like our wholesale market is like the beginning of the Belgian way, but there's a process in advance, like the process in Southern America or South Africa or Asia or other countries in Europe. But it's like a web, a spine web, and the wholesale market is one of the central things in it. So I think they are feeding each other. Yeah. So it's rather important to stay there. Yeah.
Do you do much business with large supermarket chains also? Will you sell Delhaize lots of stuff, or?
Yeah, we are working with Delhaize, Carrefour, Cora, Match, in France, in Belgium, even in Holland. Also Luxembourg, La Provençale, Groschbus are one of our biggest companies, or biggest retailers. But we also work on the local market. Yeah, also the special shops for fruit and vegetable are very important for us. And with Delhaize or Carrefour, we deliver to the central depot, and that's more volume, yeah, but still quality products. Yeah? But we also deliver them directly. In Belgium, you have the franchise of Delhaize. Yeah, you have the big Delhaizes are from central depot, but you also have the franchise of Delhaize. And they could been delivered by us on the local markets. We have a wholesale market in every province in Belgium. I know we're very small in Belgium. I guess maybe 1/300 of America. Yeah. But we have every province has its own wholesale market, so we could be really close to the shops, to the marketplaces, to special shops, and that's very important for us. Yeah? We're continuing to invest in Brussels, but also in the local markets, because our conculics are at one place, and they have to transport products at 100k, 200k, and we are very directly with every shop in Belgium. So that's our aim to make a wholesale market on every province, on every local market. And the way of the distance between the shop and our business is rather small now. I asked Myra yesterday, where are they delivering? And she said, all of America, Canada, several countries. We do that too, but for us it's also important to be close to our consumers.
What do you? One of the things that makes Hunts Point unique is that almost every large chain all over America has some eyes or ears on the market. Someone looking out for innovative new products, looking for things that might be specialty items that are not regularly available. And yet, on the other extreme, the other thing that makes Hunts Point very different from most markets is it's the only market that can handle significant increased volumes. In many of the other markets, if there is a rejected load or an insurance claim, one load put into that market would make the price collapse. But New York has both the scale and the kind of trade where some of these independent family-owned retailers will take a project and rework it and things like this, that in other areas you'd have to hire repacking companies and it just would be too expensive. You're better off dumping the same project. Do you think that the merchants in New York are able to take advantage of these sort of strategic advantages that New York has to get into additional lines, additional businesses? I'm thinking Dorigo, I know, just bought a new building right outside the market, but almost instantly we're estimating that they're now the second largest banana distributor in New York City. And they didn't distribute one banana a year ago. Tell us what about that.
I think that we are in a very unique position. Very often, because of the relationships that
hold the microphone in. No, it's on. It's just
the relationships that are long-standing, where many of our growers are not necessarily corporate growers and have been dealing with the same families for generations. Merchants don't always know what's rolling. They will accept it when it comes in, and as Jim said, there's always enough room for another trailer load someplace, because we have the ability to call a chain store, a very large independent upscale retailer, let them know that we have product rolling, that the price might be something that we could work out because there is X product in the market. And as most of you probably know, we are still a supply and demand business. And when the demand is there and the product is not, it could not necessarily be the best product that's rolling from the farm, but we will sell it, and we will sell it for a lesser price. But if the demand is high and there's no product, even the worst product can demand a very high price. So I think we're in a very unique situation also because the supply chain has changed in New York. We have become something of a DC center. And much of what we are now doing is rolling in, but while it rolls in, it is also rolling out. And many of the larger companies, such as Dorigo, that Jim has mentioned, may have 100 trailers with their own jockeys. And we can deliver product as far north as Canada, as far south as Florida in the United States, as far west as Chicago. And we have the ability to ship into Western Europe and the Caribbean Basin every day. Even if we don't take title, we can make the arrangements. If something is rolling and we can't handle it, we can find a place to put it. We also have the ability to trade with other markets that may not have the same opportunity for some of the newer product that Jim has mentioned. With the 23,000 restaurants that I mentioned before, they're always looking for something new to put on a plate. So we very often even tell the farmer to grow something different, that old is not necessarily good. And as a result, the varieties that come in, when tomatoes were mentioned over here, and he might have said 5 or 6 varieties, with the opportunities now in the growing areas and what comes into us, we might have 40 different varieties of tomatoes. And the same with mangoes that a year ago or 2 years ago might have come from only Mexico and now come from around the world. We can take whatever is growing in whatever quantity on a continual basis. There's always room for it on our 112-acre facility.
Well, you know, it's interesting. All over the states, one of the things that's happened is the profiles of retailing have changed. Although in New York, this takes the format of small format stores ran by different ethnic groups typically. In some other parts of the country, the wholesale markets are benefiting because of the way large-scale supermarkets are being repurposed. So if you go to Los Angeles, for example, the biggest chains, the Vons and the Ralphs that are owned by Safeways and Kroger, have divested many stores in what they consider difficult areas, and they've been picked up by Asian or Latino families. And these retailers are really able to do an extraordinary job. Some of it is frankly because they're a little bit below the radar screen on some of the legalities, so they can go down to the LA market and they'll buy food service packages of spinach that there was a kicked load on someone, and technically they shouldn't be able to sell this at retail because it's not properly labeled, it's not this, but it'll be sold out before anything happens. But mostly what it is they have a laser-like focus on who their exact customer is. So if there is a tomato that's showing a little soft that the Kroger division would never buy, it wouldn't survive through their distribution center, but they're focused on a particular clientele that's going to make salsa out of it, and they know that they have a customer for this item. It's really the classic old trading. The wholesale is there, the market's 8, but these are a little soft, I'll give it to you for 6. And then they're like, well, how many cases do you have? I have 837. I'll clean you up for 2, and this kind of negotiation. But these retailers are really fantastic. They're able to re-merchandise the stores in minutes. So if there is a good deal on, ripe peaches or something like that, they're able to take advantage of it, re-merchandise the store, have it a prominent thing right up front, and they'll sell out. And this is changing retail and creating an opportunity for wholesalers.
That's interesting what you say, because 6 months ago I engaged someone in the company to go to the retail shops to give them a sort of workshop of how to install their rayon in Belgium, in Dutch. Because if the difference between a fruit and vegetable shop and a retail is knowledge, is passion, it's quality. If you ask in a retail shop in Belgium, that mango, where is its origin? I don't know. I just get the coffin and I put them over there. But if you go to a fruit and vegetable shop, there's someone who's saying, yeah, it's from Costa Rica. Yeah, and there's a difference between a boat mango and an airplane mango. Yeah. So we are now in busy. Now we are with someone on the road who goes to the retail shops and saying, "Go, you have to be increasing your quality, and you have to increase your the presentation of your products, and the knowledge of your products, because if someone asks, what's the story about avocado or the passion fruits, of what can I do with it? Yeah, that's important for the customer to have an answer. So I have no one employee who is on the road for the whole Belgian market, so it's not enough, but we're increasing those efforts to do that. Because if is there one thing that a retail has to learn about a fruit and vegetable shop, it's quality and presentation.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about passion and all this. Andreas, you're pretty much the most passionate person I know. And what do you do with your team to let them communicate that passion to the grower end and to the shipper end, the buyer end, to create this sort of aligned supply chain, aligned behind the idea of high quality, fantastic flavor, and not just today's product is $1.50, tomorrow's $1.75.
Yeah, we have let's say the whole company, if it's import, wholesale, or also production, is based on employee first, customer second. Is what we say, and it's to have motivated people. I think we need to have this ownership in their department, and to develop them really. That's what I said before. To give them the DNA of Don Limón. we motivate them in the way that we let them do their projects inside the company, and they're mostly the guys who knows the best what the customer want to have. We have a lot of customers, and we said we want to bring quality, but we have a lot of customers that want price, and we cannot change them to bring quality. As I have just had this discussion here with producer from Morocco. They supply France, and they want to make the same in Germany. We cannot talk about it because we cannot change the customer. And I think that's why it's always what we do in the company. We do that what the guy who's responsible for his department think is the right thing to do. And what I think it's contagious to have passion. When you have people who's passionate around you, the other get passionate too. And that's why we have a very strange product range. And we didn't name the company Don Limón because we wanted to become the biggest importer of sweet potatoes. But it popped up, sweet potato became an item because we had an employee who found a grower, and there's great connection. And now we really grow sweet potatoes around the world. And it's very, let's say we give freedom, we give ownership, and we think all the process the other way around, like normally people say. We say our employees knows best what their customer, where they take care of, have needs, and also what they have to buy. That's why we never isolate buying from selling. So we have really, when you see Don Limón, it's a roof on the different business cases what we have, and there every guy is acting like an entrepreneur developing its business. And that's why when you see the product range we are managing, it normally makes no sense when you ask the guy who invented this and created, what has he thought? Yeah, but in the end we call this value zone with the customer. The guy who have the customer, which we see also our producers, our customer, we make a service to him. That what he decides is the best thing to do, makes him successful. And I think when people are successful, they start to, the passion they had already, or the potential that we have seen in the beginning, it grows. And so I would say we are a group of small entrepreneurs under a roof where we manage the risk, which normally employees cannot manage by themselves. We separated these, let's say, these parts in being entrepreneur. But when you have employees or sales or buyers who is acting like an entrepreneur, you create energy, and this makes the people successful and passionate. And that's why we also don't hire people who have technical knowledge, speak all the languages, and maybe have all the experience. We have the best experience to hire people where we felt the potential to get passionate. And this is what makes our system, and that's why for foreign people, when they see the company, say, what's going on here? It's strange. It's not like the other. And I think this makes me also passionate, and I really have a lot of fun with this. And when I see my company, in the end, it's only the continuation of my studies. I study sociology, and I like people, and I like really to discover the world. And this I can do with the company of my father, because I should trade fruit, but in the end, we develop people to make business in fruit business. And this is the business case we have, and this is a way how we bring the passion to the guy who is in contact with the customer.
Right. Well, you know, one thing on Hunts Point, I know almost all the owners of the units, and they always tell me that Myra gets the last word. So I think we'll give that to her today because we're almost done. And let's just ask you for your predictions on, you've seen the market consolidate, yet continue to grow in volume. You've seen it become a fulcrum for international trade. You've seen truly passionate people who have built incredible businesses, provided incredible opportunities for their employees, for growers, for retailers and restaurants in this area. What's ahead for the next 10 years?
You know, I think many things have changed in the world, and the thought that we all want to live longer, healthier, more productive lives means that we're always going to be eating more and more produce. The millennial generation in particular, I think, is very much clued into the health aspect of lives today, and are therefore the driving force in eating fresh fruits and vegetables. I also find the millennials always want something new. They want something different. So for those companies that have the opportunity to grow, they are looking for the next give me item. And many of the companies have built their businesses on the mainstay. So going forward, if a business plan has worked, I don't know that they'll necessarily have many changes, but I think the changes that are coming about have a lot to do, as I just said, with our desires to live longer, healthier, more productive lives. So we're always looking for people. For example, Jim came into the market last week from South Africa, looking to provide us with items that we do not presently carry, but we're willing to undertake the possibility. And people are coming to me on a continual basis, looking to provide product into the market that we don't presently sell. So for those that say old is not necessarily good, there's always something new out there that's going to be the forefront of the future. And we, of course, are the people that have the ability to handle it. As has been said here very well today, there's a passion in the industry. We know our customer base. We know our shipping base. We also go into the stores, as has been said here, and we are resetting them, and we are teaching people how to sell things other than what they're presently selling. So it's an industry that I think is always evolving, where in Jim's generation and my generation, which is the generation of his father, we had sort of a core of fresh fruits and vegetables. That core today may exist, but has been enlarged tenfold. And the availability for all of us to try something different, to try something new. Even here for me today, in this lovely place of Holland, some of the things that I've tried, I've never eaten before. And I've said to people on the floor, can we bring this into the United States? And unfortunately not, because government has to work with government. There are pears that I'd love to bring in. There's mangosteen I'd love to bring in. At the moment, we're not able. But I'm certain in the future, all of this will become a possibility. And the new will be exciting, and the tried and true will exist. And therefore, there's always going to be an ongoing something that will drive the industry. And as a result, Jim, we are always going to be successful because we're always going to be eating something someplace from the produce industry someplace in the world.